All right. Testing 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And it looks like we're live. I'm getting what looks like to be the correct signal flag sign. I'm not sure what you call it, but everything looks like it's working in the YouTubes. So here we go. All right. Well, welcome. My name is James Pettit. Good evening. And we're going to be taking a look at basically fixing some rigging issues with the character model that I have here. This is actually a little bit more farther down the road. I'm going to be backing up just a little bit, but here's a sample of what we're aiming for. And let me show you real quick what the problem is that we're going to be tackling. And that is that first, that I can't move this. Not sure what's going on there. Maybe I can reopen the file, see what's going on. That's interesting. That wasn't one of the known issues. Probably trying to determine if something happens to be locked. No. I'm not sure what's going on here. Normally these should move. But at any rate, so the problem, let me show a better example. Go to our base, Blender base. And I guess we can go ahead and start here. Let me just double check. All right. So there's a couple of issues here. One is that we turn on switch to pose mode, and let me actually rig this real quick. There we go. Okay. Finally, I can show you what the problem is here. So if I move this control, the idea is that the eyes are supposed to move together with it. However, as you can see at extremes, the eyeballs are coming out of the head. And that's quite less than ideal. So what we want to do is figure out how to get that fixed. And let's take a look. All right. So that's one issue. They're coming out of the head. And issue number 2 is that so these controls here are supposed to bend the fingers when they're scaled. Kind of like this, only you'll notice that the finger is bending completely to the side and technically would be absolutely broken in this instance. So we got to fix that as well. All right, so let's take a look at open recent. I'm going to open this file again and see if we can fix this. I'm going to say save as a different file, just so that we have backups in case something gets messed up. When you're working with 3D, it's really easy to make a simple mistake and to break everything and then not realize it until much later. Alright, so let's edit the fingers first, because I think that's going to be a much easier problem to tackle. So far, so good. And we'll just make this, trying to decide if we want to do this X-ray. And we probably don't need to. Okay. So I'm going to select these bones here. And what's happening is that if I'm understanding correctly, I think the bones here are completely straight. So So everything is 100% straight here, I believe. Now, I'm not 100% certain. It does look like each set of the fingers are a little bit different. But the way that I'm going to fix the issue with the fingers is I'm going to offset this just a little bit to create a little bit of bend, and this should help the part of the program that is determining how to set up the rig. It should help it a little bit. So let's switch this to normal and just ever so slightly move it up, and then what we'll do is we'll test this. And to do that, we've got to go here, and we'll just give this a test. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, we may move on to the face. Scale. Yeah, it still doesn't seem quite right. So let's see. Without saving, plan B, which hopefully will also fix this. All right, we'll grab the skeleton, the armature, and let's see if we can change our display so that this is appearing. Setting, this is under visibility, viewport display, in front. So we now have this kind of X-ray view. So what I'm guessing, in fact, let me see if any of these fingers are set up right. Let me turn off. I think I have some sound coming through my phone. Make sure that that's turned off. So we gotta rig this, and let's see which finger. I think one of these might be correct. I think this one. Yeah, so this one is pretty much working correctly. So we're gonna take, well, I say that, scale, not 100%. So we're gonna take a look to see if we can find the thumb is working pretty well. Find whether or not there might be a bone here that's out of whack, or maybe several of them. So let's see if we can fix that. Actually, first let's see if we can find it. So this is going to be viewport front. Nope. This one. There we go. So what we want to look for here, and it doesn't look like we have any extra bones in this setup, so it's just gonna be dependent on these, I think. So what I'm gonna look for is the axes. Let's see if we can turn that axis on. And it's not showing for some reason. Display the object. Let's see. Too many settings. Let me Google this real quick. Let's see. This is going to be Blender bone axis display. See if we can find viewport display. Cool. It's the latest. Armature viewport display. Okay. Armature. Well, we might have to get it from here. So let's see. Not sure. What am I missing here? Visibility, selectable, blah, blah. Something apparently is not turned on, but I'm not quite able to figure out what. Normally it would be a setting here. But we have bones turned on. We have extra statistics. We don't need that. Face orientation. Nope. Let's see. Armature view. Armature panel. Come on. Well, we may have to work around that, as I'm just simply not able to find where or why the bone names are not showing up. Yeah, armature viewport, just not exactly sure. Well, looks like we'll move on. See, there we go. We've got the name here. But theoretically, oh, and that's also something we got to worry about. But not here. Well, let's see. Alright, so I'm taking a look at these. I'm not sure why my name and axes are not displaying, because that might help a little bit. But I'm just taking a look at the roll here, and those are pretty much all the same, which might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. Let's see. If we want, we might need, and this is where I need this axis to come in here into play. Let me do a little bit more Googling and see if I can find where this display is. Yep, the fun with the... This is not so much problematic, except that I'm also streaming this and trying to not spend loads of time Googling stuff. So let's see if we can, if all else fails, let's see if we can just experiment with this. So these are all pretty much the same values. What if we set the roll to 0 and perhaps something like 60 degrees. Let's see if that gives us any difference. Because basically these bones can be rolled around, and I'm just gonna see if that is making any difference for the conversion. Because often something like that can actually be a big deal because it confuses the programming underneath. So let's see if we convert this, Rigify. Ooh, that did not like that. Let's see if we got any different results. If not, yeah, that's still doing the same thing. So that is going to require a little bit more research, I think. Finger fix. Let's see. Blender. Let me check out a. All right, so that's going to be let's open this again. Where exactly? Here we go. Rigify type is what we need, and that's probably going to be object mode. And this is going to be under bone. It might be pose mode. Cool. Okay. Rigify type. Okay, these don't even have a Rigify type. Super finger. Yeah. So basically the rotation, the orientation, all those can matter for how this gets converted. Oh, okay. Taking a look at a YouTube video here real quick. Let's see if yeah, this might also be. There's several different ways that the orientations can be mapped, so this may also be throwing things for a loop. Finger. And that is something I'm going to have to check out as well. IKs are great, especially for fingers, I believe, because you control the entire finger from the tip rather than the rest of the finger. So we might have to experiment with that. That I'm probably gonna have to experiment in a non-stream simply because it will take too long, or perhaps at the end of the stream just to kind of figure out stuff. Let's see. So let's we're going to try a couple things here, and if this doesn't work, we'll work in the eyes, because I know that's something that has to be fixed. And should be an easier fix. So let's grab these and let's put more bend in them than we did before. Let's try something like that. It looks like it's working, so let's test this out. Rigging, Rigify. Oh, that's much better. There we go. So that's gonna be a possible option. Still, this finger's still kind of wonky. So let's see if we want to. That's essentially going to probably be our fix. I'm gonna have to look going to look into some other options for that as well. Partially because I don't want to change the, that seemed like a much larger change, and I don't want to actually change the base rig too much. But essentially, in order to fix this, we definitely need to go either, you know, at minimum, if nothing else is going to work, we've got to select these and bring them up like so. And if we rig this, that's definitely giving us much better prediction than it was before. And then if we grab all these, they of course I can't scale them individually, it looks like, and not without a different setting, but yeah, that's pretty much going to scale much better than the bending sideways that they were doing before. So I'm going to keep that in mind. Let me also check, because I was experiencing some issues with this finger, and let's see if we can fix that by changing our subdivision order. Doesn't look like it. Although, for some reason, here we go. Subdivision is not. Definitely want that there. Preserve. So it looks like there is also a little bit of issue going on here. Just a touch of the finger going through itself. So that may also need to be addressed and adjusted, but that's going to take longer than what we have time for today, but we'll keep that in mind. Alright, so let's, with that in mind, hopefully again I can figure out some alternatives to, I don't like messing up the rig because that could lead to problems later, so I don't want to modify it more than I have to. There may be alternate ways of getting that working, but at least we know that we have that fallback. So let's switch over here and fix our eyes. So when we showed that the eyes were coming through the face and not really working, part of the reason for that was because, actually let me start this over real quick and open another Blender file. Part of the reason it was doing that is because you can see here the base of the bone, if you will, right there, is at the tip of the eye rather than the center. And if it's at the tip rather than the center, it of course is going to just, you know, break. So, however, a couple of things. One, I'm using I'm loading up another file here in another screen. Blender base. Alright. And what we need to do here is get a couple of different eyes, because see if I can get that copied. Perfect. And then paste. Also perfect. The final example, or the final model, if you will, is going to have a different set of eyes, and that's important that we get everything working to the new set of eyes and not the old set. So let's turn back this. Let me turn off annotations if I can. There we go. Okay. So then we want zoom in here, and we can see there's the center of our eye right here. So I'm going to let's see, use Shift S and say cursor to selected. Perfect. This is going to be the left eye, and select the armature, And then what I want to do is select this bone and hopefully use Shift S again and say selection to cursor. Perfect. So basically we just jumped to that center point, and hopefully when we rig everything, it will all work together nicely. Same thing with this eye. Select that, cursor to selected, select the bone system, and we want to select this other bone back here and say Shift S and selection to cursor. Perfect. So that should work. I'm going to save that, and we're going to test this without saving, but just making sure that everything works. And let's see. Oh, okay. So the problem here is that these eyes are not set up for the rig. However, we can use the original eyes to test this. And it looks like these are not attached either, which is a little bit baffling. That might, I think I may know the reason for that, depending on, yeah, okay. So let's go back here. Let's turn eyes on. Let's select everything. Actually, let's see. We'll see if that's even an issue. So we'll turn eyes back on, and we will rig. If this doesn't work, we may have to make sure that the original eyes are connected properly, which they may not be. I can't tell. I think that's working. Perfect. Okay, so it looks like that the system detected that the eyes were turned off, and so it broke stuff. But we can take a look, and perfect. If we zoom in here and look at this with our creepy materials, this of course is a far far away from what our final render will look like, but we can see that that's working. Sweet. So now we've got to do this carefully. Let me turn the eyes back on, select everything just to make sure that when we export this it doesn't miss any pieces. I'm going to actually delete the auto eye that we added because we won't need it for this, and save and select everything here and export. And this is going to be in Blender Export 20-C1 V20-C1. Okay, export. And let me just do a real quick test to see if this is going to continue to work. And let's see, okay. We will say plugin. Take a look at a different window here. And making sure that everything is going to import properly. And if it does, we might even move on to the fingers, or perhaps experiment with the character, because that's in a lot of ways really what I wanted to get to tonight. Is see, everything is slowing down. Hopefully everything is still streaming properly. It looks like it is. All right. And it looks like everything is working, which is fantastic. Oh, perfect. It's so beautiful. Unfortunately, I'm looking at this in a different window. So the character is created by a program called amazingly enough, a character creator. And so it's importing properly. There's a couple of reasons, just logistical reasons why I'm not showing it. But in a second, I'll be able to show the export from it. So let's see. All right, and we'll create a new file. Actually, let me just double check that everything worked there. Okay, yeah, new file. And let me put together real quick a character with costuming. And let me save project as. And let's export this. Working. Mesh. Okay, export. And we will create some things here. It actually was way faster than I expected, which is good. And now let's import the character with costume. Beautiful. And let's let my program catch up here. Now you'll notice he doesn't have any shoes yet. That's okay. Those are coming. And of course, we've also got to adjust things like the eyes and different things like that. So let me get my reference here. So I use a separate program for the character creation, and that helps because not only are there things like costumes available, but there's also it provides a couple different things like the available rig. There's a importer tool, the one I've been using here, that allows me to work with another tool to add a more complex rig. There's just a number of things where it saves time as an artist, and I can ignore some of the deep technical things, at least a little bit. Not completely, but at least a little bit, so that I'm not having to worry about setting all those things up, especially things like facial shape keys or whatever. That makes things so much easier to deal with. Okay, so let me we got to go to shading here, and I have a couple things we want to do. Oh, we want to rebuild the materials as a simple material rather than character settings, basic, and rebuild. And this just keeps things simple for us. And we will set the normal match strength to 0.5. And essentially what that does is the bumps on the skin are not going to be quite as apparent. And the specular strength to 0.18. We might actually increase that later, but I'm going to keep that for now. And let's save this as John Test. Let's see, John, Blender export, okay. Blend file. All right, and we also have to append. Where is this going to be? Let's see. Actually, we'll go to John, blend. Nope, no. That's not what we want. file, append. Okay. This is going to be under blend. It's not a library. Oh. Can't be that one. This one. And okay, cool. Here we go. Node tree and skin cartoon. And we will add that group here. I really need to actually name this. So let's go in here and see the bottom one. Let's use a naming convention, make this easier. Cool. So the bottom one is going to be base color. Top one is going to be subsurf color for subsurface scattering, and the value is subsurf value. I'll probably need to come up with some better names for that, but let me spell that correctly. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So now that we have that, we gonna have the base color, subsurface color, and connect the subsurface value. Perfect, and that's exactly what we want. We can start rendering. Oop, I forgot to set this to Eevee, and we'll go ahead and just add our typical setup here for rendering, just for tests, just because it's nice. Something like 50. It may not be enough. Turn off noise threshold. And we'll set up our lighting later. Of course, our eyes look super creepy. Let's also throw on a subdivision surface modifier, and that should help smooth out these glitches here. Perfect. So then we basically copy that pattern for the rest of the skin. I'm undecided if I want to keep eyelashes. I think for the guys in this cartoon, I probably won't have them, but we'll see. Alright, so let's actually quickly add this to all of these. Perfect. And then 0.5. We actually probably should use a group for this, but alas. Okay. So then finally, the tricky part, which is, oh, you know what? I did this completely wrong. We're going to go from here to there. And we actually skip this. We don't use it. All right, perfect. So we're going to go color to color, and then hook up all these: base color, subsurface color, and subsurface value. And that's going to make things look a little bit, basically it just makes it a little bit, we kind of suppress the some of the color in the textures. That's not creepy at all. Well, let's see. Thankfully, there's nothing in this that's inappropriate. It just, it looks weird when you're looking at just the skin texture. But let's see. Continue to set this up. Yeah, so basically we suppress the color. We use some of it. Oh no, that's not right at all. Let's fix the name for the for that. Standard nails. And do we have, it looks like we've got this almost all set up. Perfect. Okay. I'm actually really liking that. Might even use this in our test render. And if we have time, we might do the boots. I'm not sure if we'll get to that tonight. I have a separate pair of boots that I created myself versus the jacket and the pants. So looking, so far so good. Okay, now we gotta figure out the eyes. The eyes. Okay. And we're going to paste them in. And we'll say auto eye right. Auto eye left. This is actually the perspective of the character, not us. And uh-oh. Come on. It doesn't look like we got it all. Yeah, we didn't. Let's try this again. Delete. Paste. Alright, now we have both parts of the eye. Nope. One more attempt. Does that get it? Perfect. Okay, that's what we want. So auto eye iris right. Perfect. Auto eye left. And sweet. So all that is so far so good. So then we're going to need to parent. Let's see. Actually, we're going to need to hide the original eyes. There we go. As you can see, these eyes are much more lively, and if we add some lighting, just add some simple lighting. Oop, nope, that added more eyes. Come on. Sometimes copying and pasting in Blender can be a hassle. Let's also organize this into character and character, and we'll say spell this correctly. Say props for the things like the lights and such. I'm going to delete this light. I'm going to select the world, and I like the default color of that. Perfect. Okay. So now we can actually see our character, which is nice. I'm not even sure entirely. Okay, so we do need the lights a little bit. But we get a much better idea of what this should look like. So there are a few issues with the clothing, but we'll address those later. So yeah, what I was trying to explain earlier is we, instead of having all this hyper detail in the skin, we sort of suppress it. We use some things like we see the lip, the darker lip color and such. But I'm really undecided whether or not we want to use the eyelashes. They're a little bit off and I'd need to fix them. But we may just erase them for now, because they're not too super essential. But I don't know. I'm a little bit undecided whether we want that in the final version for the guys. Okay, so far so good. What am I forgetting? Let's see, we have, let's move our camera and our point lights to the props, and that lets us essentially take everything from our character and import it into another scene without actually editing or copying the file exactly. The advantage of this is we can update this file and it will automatically update in other scenes, which is really important. So I'm going to say auto I left, and we want to make sure that we see our bones, and I'm going to parent it, and actually I'm not sure that I can parent that until, let's say, save this as a second version. So let's actually rig this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's taking longer than usual. So hopefully if Blender doesn't crash. Perfect. Okay. Save that. And of course, if we move our eyes around, they're not going to work. But, hold on. We shall I might even create two versions of this character, one with the facial rig and one with just the shape keys. But we'll see about that. All right, so auto I write, we need to parent that to one of these bones. Let's see, where is that going to be? I think might be this guy. Perhaps, or maybe not. Trying to find the right, ironically, the eye bone for us to parent to. I think it might be this guy. We've got the original eye. We've got this. Probably either one of these would work. So let's actually do this. I think there's actually a option for selecting all these, but I can't remember what it is. So I'm going to move this eyelet bone and see which one of these is turned. Actually, it's all of them, so technically we could probably use any of these. I'm going to use this one. I'm not able to find another better option. Yeah. Okay, so this one. Yeah, I'm not sure that it matters at this point. So let's actually go back. Perfect. And we want to allow the execution of the script. So far, so good. I write. And we will go here and select this bone and say parent bone. And we'll do that now with I left and select this bone, parent bone. And now if we select all our other layers, like I said, I think there's a way to do this automatically. I just don't remember it. And if we do this, oh, it's beautiful. So there we go. Now, one of the things about eyes is you have to be careful, because technically they look a little bit, they look more to a singular point. So technically these probably should be a little bit together, especially if he's looking right at something, but we might be able to get away for now. That's super cool. And let's pose the rest of this without rendering. We're gonna keep his hands super straight because we still haven't fixed the fingers, as you might recall. Perfect. I'm going to save that. Awesome. So now our eyes are working, which is super exciting. Gonna not worry about the eyelashes for now. And let's just do a quick test. Let's open the Kitchen Final. And I think this is, yeah, this is the one I want. So then what we can do is link, and we will go to John Test, blend, version 2, collection, and character. And we will put this on the ground. We'll rotate this. And if we wanted to, we could even create a library override. Although I think that's going to reset our... Oh, no, I guess it doesn't. Sweet. So then we can pose this. But the nice thing is, it looks like looks like this probably doesn't need to be in that collection. Then if we render this, we now have our character in this scene and he's looking correctly. Seeing something weird with the thumb, but I think that's just denoising. And of course, our character shows up pretty dark in the scene. I think that's just from where the lights are. So we could create, I guess I gotta be in object mode. We could create a light and rotate it and shine it on our character. It may not be bright enough to start with, so let's crank this up to 50 watts and maybe make it normal, move it closer, and we'll probably would need other lights as well, but that gives you the idea. So yeah, a little bit dark. I had this issue before. I think it's just really just the lighting, that the lighting works okay for the scene, but not exactly so much for the character. There's also some things I noticed about the clothing materials. They didn't seem incredibly high quality to me, but I might stick with them for now just because to save time. The other thing is that the shadows of the clothing are baked into the material, which gives them a little bit more of a cartoonish look, which I might leave for now simply because of the amount of time it would take to paint that out. Although I might attempt that as well. We'll just have to see. But let's see if even we can get some better, maybe some better lighting on this guy. There we go. Object, pose mode, and move. Looks like he's going through the sink, so we don't want that. So yeah, I think there's, the other thing is, because there's a lot of lighting from these lamps here, this is well lit. So now he's almost too bright. Maybe a little bit too bright. So let's see if I can find that that light, area light. I think it's this one right here. Let's crank this down. And we might also need some kind of light, perhaps an invisible light or just off-camera light. I mean, this is not exactly the best angle for a shot, so I'm not too worried about the lighting. I am happy to see that the lighting does seem to be better. I had some trouble with this before. The lighting does seem to be better to the towards the table and sink area, so that does make me feel better. Let me actually see if I can cut this off. Oh no, it's still too dark without that. So I might have to play. I'm not exactly sure whether this is actually a realistic brightness, because his hands seem good, his head seems really dark, given this lighting. So I'm not exactly sure. Again, it's one of those things where it may not be all that off, or I may have to adjust the skin materials. And that is one of the nice things about, let's say, I'm going to have to do this in another window, but let's say I went and edited, well, let's see, I might have to save this file, and I was just going to open this for testing. But let's say I went and edited the skin brightness or something from his jacket or whatever, because I think I did have issues the other day. Yeah, I've have issues with his arm clipping through the jacket, so I'm gonna have to explore that. It looks like our old eyes are also here, which I didn't notice. That's both hilarious and horrifying. So that should be easy fix, is just a display toggle. But the nice thing is I can save the original file and re-import or just open this file, this scene again, and those things will have been updated. And with any scene that has this character in it that has the link, it would be updated as well. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. Not sure quite why his head seems so dark. It may be an overzealous subsurface scattering issue. I may have to make it less, because I've usually only tested that subsurface scattering in the preview where there's a really bright white, basically a really bright white light all around him. So it won't, that particular material setup may not work super well, but at least we're starting to get an idea of what he looks like in scene. Again, it's one of those weird things. His hand looks fine, but yeah, I mean, things like that looks pretty good. Not quite so sure. Actually, what if we really quick experimented with bringing him lower where all the light is, like he was in the chair, for example. Perhaps a little bit better, not a whole lot better. It does look better to me though, because light's hitting him more, so it's not quite so dark. And then if we had a light to the left, it might work better. So yeah, that's going to be something I'll have to experiment with. I'm okay with sort of the cartoonish look because this is ultimately a cartoon after all. But yeah, we may have to experiment with that, see if we can get things working a little bit better. And of course, I'm really liking, it's hard to see, but I'm seeing some of the highlights of the skin as well, just the reflectivity. So that, of course, is going to make it look, the more of that, it's going to make it look more part of the scene. So I may have to, yeah, I don't know if my subsurface scattering is a little bit too high. Looking at that zoomed in, perhaps with just some extra lighting, and because of course for a scene like this in real life we probably would have some extra lights just to make it look better. Yeah, I'm pretty overall, even with that nitpick of it just seeming dark and the skin perhaps absorbing too much light with the subsurface scattering, it's like I'm actually decently happy with the way this is starting to turn out. And of course, again, because we're balancing the cartoon with the realism here, it's going to be an interesting combination, but I think we'll get it. I think there's a lot of potential for this style. Let's do a quick render just for fun and see what we can get. Of course, everything's slow because we've got all this subsurface scattering. Now a little bit too noisy. If we zoom in here, you can see that even the denoiser is having trouble because we need more detail for the subsurface scattering. But other than that, let me see if I can crank up the sample size and maybe cheat this a little bit by, let's say we render this area and we increase the, because this is not set for 1080p, I think, or this particular scene was not. It's reduced a little bit. Yeah, gonna have to work through some of those noise issues, but I do like, though, I am seeing one of the problems is actually resolving just with the compositing. His face was not so much dark as it was yellow, and with the compositing, I'm liking that result a good bit better. Again, we're getting kind of some smudging because of the denoising, can't handle the samples. It's just not quite enough. I'll have to look into seeing. I checked this out the other day, and Blender has moved things around from what it used to have in the past for how you'd increase samples for things like subsurface scattering. I might even have to render that as a separate layer, just because I think that might make more sense. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this test. Again, this is not the final result by any means. We want to do a whole lot of things before actually making this a shot. But the proof of concept is I'm actually pretty stoked about the, like I said, with the compositing, we're getting much better lighting. If we throw in some studio lighting as well, we'll probably get even better results simply because we can light up the character. We might edit some things later on. The jacket is especially plastic. So we might reduce that to make it not stand out so much. And little things here and there. But yeah, that's coming along. I'm actually super excited. This is, last night may have been not quite the first, but especially with this kind of character, the first time I've actually started integrating a scene with a character. So I'm learning things here as I go with just how to get things integrated, how to do some of the lighting, etc. But pretty stoked that this is coming along like that. All right, well, I think that's past time for what we have for tonight. Again, if you're interested in these, please subscribe, ring the bell, all the all that nonsense that they tell you to do on YouTube, like the video, you know. I would ordinarily don't even like talking about that kind of stuff. I am terrible at marketing, but I know that it's important. So if you would do that, that'd certainly help me out. And let's see, any other odds and ends. I'm hoping to do some kind of streaming regularly. So right now the schedule is Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 o'clock. So the goal with that is to just have something that's a little bit more standard and consistent, so that viewers will have something that's a little bit more tangible, so that it's not just whenever, but it's on a consistent schedule. And anything else I'm forgetting, hopefully I also get a little bit smoother at these, rather than just, there's kind of a mix, because I'm doing this live, there's always going to be things here and there of trying to get fixes done, and some of that, sometimes that's going to take a while. But hopefully, just as I practice these, I'm hoping to get smoother and more, I won't say professional, but a little bit more set into a routine that's just going to make sense for viewers. All right, and I think that's it. And like I said, please subscribe and all that. And I will see you hopefully this next Thursday at 8 o'clock. Thanks again for watching, guys. Take care.